Hello and welcome to Global Connections. I'm Patrick Breton. I'm joined by a special guest today, Erwan Barbier, who runs a business and HR consulting company, Chestnut Tree. And so he's going to talk to us about some of the work that he's done, particularly working about trying to have placements for MBA students and other graduate students in the European job market. So without further ado, welcome to ThinkTech.
Thank you very much, Patrick. It's a pleasure to be here and to share some experience with you guys.
Excellent. So I have to ask the obligatory question. So where are you from?
I am from France.
Okay,
Yeah.
which part of France?
I live close to Paris.
Okay.
But I grew up in the west of the country.
Okay, the west, like in Normandy or Brittany, or?
Well, not Normandy, in Brittany. That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct. In a small village in the center of this place. Yeah, it's close to the sea also. So
Okay.
yeah, not as sunny as here, but it's quite nice.
Okay. I've heard it rains quite often in Brittany.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday was raining here also. So
We do have rain in Hawaii, yes. Interesting. Okay, so you're from Brittany, and then you went to school. What did you study when you decided to go to school?
Yeah, so interesting, but there is a lot of factors that we take into account when we decide to do something. But for me, it was just I was following a normal path, right? So I grew up there in a village in the center of Brittany, right? And I went to high school there, and then decided to move to college, and I started also in Brittany, and then moved to Paris. And actually, I wanted to study science. So I was in a kind of very specific, not specific, but very broad mathematics and physical science. And then I moved to computer science. I studied that for 3 years and then became what we call an engineer, l'école d'ingénieur in France, right? And then I started to work. And then I did another degree. I took a degree. I have an MBA also that I took 10 years after in Paris.
Okay. I mean, one of the generalities or maybe even stereotypes that we often have is with particularly the continental European system is that early on you sort of decide a career track in sort of sciences or humanities and social sciences from a very early age, and you go into different tracks, and it can sometimes be kind of difficult to leave that track. So is that something where you started in science? So why did you decide to shift from sort of science and, say, computers to getting an MBA? That seems different, right?
Well, that's a very broad question, Patrick. Yeah, it's kind of true that in France the mindset is twofold, right? It's very much headed towards corporation. So people might want to enter a large corporation, right? For the name of the company and also for the kind of safety career plan. Actually, it's not true, but it's what people have in mind. And then you might want to decide what kind of career path you want to follow. So if you are deciding to go for finance, if you're deciding to go for marketing, if you're deciding to go for technical studies, and then in these technical studies, you have to really select something. But there I'm talking about France, right? And when for your question regarding tech and then MBA, the thing is that it's kind of well-rooted in the mindset of people that an MBA is a good addition to technical studies. So no, I was very conservative into what I did, right? The thing is that the MBA opens it a little bit more international. So this, and also just it's more international, but keep in mind also that the European market in general is international per se, right? So yeah, so I've been a bit conservative.
Okay.
For that.
And you've worked in a variety of fields. I mean, from Eurosport, you know, sort of European, sort of ESPN, to working for different companies and things, right? I mean, what are some of the companies that you've worked with? Yeah,
it's so interesting. Actually, I started just before the company you mentioned. I did my last year of internship in a company that is in EdTech. It was in '99, back in '99, in the hot startup location in the center of Paris. So it was the place to be at this time.
Did you still have dial-up?
I think we had something similar to that, yes.
Okay.
But we were outsourcing to Tunisia this time, so we are already thinking about working with low-cost labor and so on. So, and then I joined this Eurosport company, which is the European ESPN, that's correct. It has been recently acquired by Discovery Channel. So, voilà, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it's, I was doing IT there. It was really interesting, very thrilling experience. And also an interesting career booster. If you look at the guys who are with me in this specific company, everyone has had very interesting career path afterwards. I stayed there for 4 years. It was in Paris. I have always been working in Paris, internationally, but in Paris, or close to, but anyway, in this region. And so then, after having done that, I moved to IT, really pure IT. I was in a large ITSC. I don't have an example of companies that you might have in the US, but it's a large company. It's making 9 billion euro turnover now. It's completely global. And I worked there for 4 years, but I was in sales, more in sales, in tech sales, right? Okay. So meaning that you use technical skills and some finance, marketing, and selling skills. So then it's why I wanted to do my MBA at this moment. And afterwards, it was a bit more blurry, messy, because I did some entrepreneurship. Eventually, the company failed. And actually, it was a good learning, because one of the professors I met in Cambridge told me that when you start a business, you have 80% chance of failing, so you better fail fast and learn fast. So that's what I did, right? So it took me 8 months to be done with the company, and it was very interesting. Actually, it was a company that was supposed to advise entrepreneurs to grow their business. It was interesting because I had no clue about how to advising people. And talking to entrepreneurs is interesting because I don't know how it is here, but in France, the entrepreneurs don't want to listen to any advice. So I am an entrepreneur right now, so I don't want to listen to, I will hear advice, but I know I'm going to pick them, and I'm not sure I'm going to pay for them, right? So that's the other issue. I did not really know the business. I was not really facing the right market, and I had people who didn't want to pay, right? So I closed the business. So voilà, if we come back, so Eurosport, technical role, then so it was in Atos, right? I was in sales, and then did this business of entrepreneur advising, right? And then I joined back to my previous, I would say, premiers amours, right? The first thing that I liked is that I joined education. So I joined HEC Paris. That is one of the Ivy League business schools in Europe.
It's either the first or second leading business school in Europe every
year,
year,
that's correct. Yeah, in terms of business school, it's called to be the first, but actually we're struggling with LBS in London, right?
Okay, London Business School.
London Business School, that's correct. Sorry for the acronym. So voilà, so it's a big global institution, and I went there into developing sales also, but I had also a career part. So I did that for 4 years. Very interesting, working mostly with MBAs and also with some MSc students, Masters in Management students, so graduate and undergrad. Very international. Once again, as I said, in Paris, but international, right? And because I love Paris. So, voilà. And then after 4 years, I wanted to start my own business. So I'm doing kind of the same activity, right? So reaching out to companies in order for them to understand that it would be interesting for them to hire graduate students rather than to graduate an experience from the market. And working with different profiles, so MBAs obviously, but also once again master students in business, also in tech, right? And also in law. Okay. So I've been doing that for 2 years now, and the company is a bit growing.
Good. One problem, I'm sure you get this question a lot from students, and this is it's kind of almost a cliche, we could say, is that, you need to have experience, right, to get the job, but then you have to get a job to have experience. And then this gets into a third level when we have MBAs, because what I've always heard is that many MBA programs want students to have some work experience before they go into the program. I mean, what's the sort of the sweet spot or the sort of Aristotelian golden mean for, how much work, how much school, and kind of like your example that you said that and people who are entrepreneurs probably need help and advice, but they don't want to take advice, right?
Once again, very broad question. Thank you for bringing that. So for instance, the example of my career path is not a good example of career path in Europe. Europe stays very conservative. So I took the example of France. It's not true in the UK. In UK, you can move very easily. In Switzerland also will be the same. But if you look at other countries like the Nordics or Germany or Spain or Italy, you have to be very consistent. So there is one thing also about the MBA is that most of the students are willing to change career. So we are facing an issue of, as you said, the mix of what are you learning in the MBA and how can you leverage your past experience. So now I come to your question is, what is the good mix of experience that you might have in terms of education? Then the GMAC would say that, and top schools would say that you need to have 5.5 years of work experience, be a little bit below 30, right? And having this kind of accelerative career path. So having a good track record and being close to manage people or manage a small team, and then also have international exposure. So that would be the, I would say, the typical painting of the good potential MBA student. But just for I would say, the sake of the homogeneity of the class, then in terms of success, and it depends from one person to the other, right? If your question is about how we build the class, that would be that, right? And then with a mix of backgrounds, width of geography, and mix of gender. So well, and then for placement, it's something that is I should not use the word placement, but for career support, it's something that can be tricky with these various backgrounds and various interests also.
One thing I find myself working in education, although not in business, one thing I think is interesting is that in certain countries or in certain systems, there is a sort of globalization of education. So in the sense that the formation, like I teach international relations, the difference between, say, how it's taught in the US or the UK or maybe Singapore or Australia is not that much. But then there are other countries where, the formation is quite different. So, the formation for international relations, say in France, is quite different than the formation in the United States or the other Anglo-Saxon countries. Is that the same with business, or is business just so, quote-unquote, universal that the formation, so if you get students in an MBA program, say in France, and they come from Scandinavia, India, Italy. I mean, are they coming in at the same speed, or are there pretty large difference pedagogically between the countries in their training?
No, that's interesting. So the crowd in not only in HEC but in other schools that I visit is very international, very mixed, and very diverse. So not only European but also Asian and American. And then we see not really a discrepancy in the way of learning, but more in terms of expectation related to how the program should be and how people are used to be learning. So there you have an issue. But it's not really an issue in terms of the success. People will succeed because the student will succeed not because they are strong and they have good background, but because they are highly motivated to succeed. Right? So there is where you really have to put the effort on. But yes, it's a bit different. So it's a bit different from what I heard from the students. I don't have experience of the other universities, so I'm not going to talk about that because it will be not true. But I believe it's a bit different. And regarding business, but regarding MBA is something that is standardized. You have accreditation, so you need to deliver the same program everywhere if you want to be accredited of the three main accreditation. So there, I think people are fine picking the program that is of interest to them, and they will be more likely looking at the ranking. So they will look at the Financial Times ranking, try to pick the top 20 or top 30 schools, and then eventually get admitted and then go for the program.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back with Erwan Barbier.
Aloha, my name is Carl Campagna. I'm the host of Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. You can see our show every Wednesday at noon at 12 p.m. on thinktechhawaii.com, as well as visiting YouTube and finding the link for the show there. The show is also aired on OC16. We look forward to seeing you on the show. We have many wonderful guests, including Joan Husted, Corey Rosenlee, where we talk about the very important issues of education for our keiki. We look forward to seeing you there. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Justine Espiritu, and I am the co-host of Hawaii Farmers Series. This is my co-host, Matthew Johnson, and we are live with you every Thursday at 4 p.m. at thinktechhawaii.com. And our show focuses on Hawaii's local food community. We feature not only the farmers that are producing our food, but we also feature the supporters and other folks involved in the community that are trying to promote local agriculture.
Hello and welcome back to Global Connections. I'm Patrick Bratton. I'm talking with Erwan Barbier, who does consulting and also placements and career planning for students in Europe who are doing MBAs and other business-related careers. So before our break, we were just talking about Erwan's background and also just getting a feel for this sort of how MBAs work, particularly in Europe. So in relation to this, as you mentioned earlier before, you've just sort of broken out on your own with your own company, which is called Chestnut Tree, right? So what is Chestnut Tree? It's not really a very French-sounding name for a French company, but...
Well, that's correct. It's not a French name. If I had called the company châtaignier, as it's the word, the French word for chestnut tree, people will say, yeah, why did you call your company châtaignier, right? It's an interesting question for many reasons. But the major reason is that at my parents' house, we have a chestnut tree, and I was looking for something that was rooted with my family and something that makes you don't move, right? The market is moving, things are moving, but your tree doesn't move. Right? So this I like.
It's a little terroir.
Yeah, this kind of terroir thing that you might find in France, yes. So this I enjoyed, and I put it in English, obviously, because people will understand better. And voila. So that's why. And so what I'm doing is that I carry on with what I knew. So as you might understand, today I still work by myself, but it's going to change soon. We're going to have two new hires from June this year. And I'm basically a support to career services in schools. So not only MBAs. I'm working with MBAs, but also other programs and also other, I would say, level of education. So if you have questions, we'll dig more into the
So, I
business.
mean, your target, so then your sort of target audience you're looking at are students who are studying business, maybe studying an MBA, and they're looking, what are the companies, what are the countries I should be looking for? Is that sort of who you sort of assist?
Yes, so I was talking about the student crowd, but basically the two main customers of the company are schools, so business schools, universities, and tech schools, right, in France and in Europe. And the second part of the customers that I have are companies. So large companies, small companies, mostly international companies looking for management people.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So the idea is to bridge the gap between both, acknowledging the fact that it's not because you are working, let's say, one company or two companies there, that they might be willing to hire the students you're advising, right? So, voilà. If we look at the student part, the idea is really to help them understand a sector, a company, I would say a function, a job, and how to be ready for getting the job. And saying that it seems simple, and at the aim, it has to be simple. But the thing is that most of the students we meet don't make it simple. They make it difficult. They make it, for them, it's also stressful, which is understandable because the stakes are high, especially for an MBA. And they might want to procrastinate on that. If you take an example of someone who has professional experience, who is going back to class and is very happy to have no boss, imagine you are going back to class, Patrick, and you don't need to report to anyone in HPU, it would be very comfortable. So that's the idea of these students. They are not reporting to anyone, so it's really nice. They're having a nice life. And then we come back to them and say, hey, you need to eventually to look for a job. And say, oh no, I don't want that. And then comes Chestnut Tree and say, don't worry, we'll take care of that. Well, I'm not taking care of finding a job, but I'm taking care of, hey, come on, we are going to find a job. So, and there is a strong need for various reasons, as I said, this one, but also the market is a bit evolving. If we look at the figures of unemployment in France, and that claim to be strong, that is one of the reasons of the things you could see on TV last week in France, is really about many factors. This I cannot explain because I'm not an expert, but to my reading, in the very specific niche where I am, there is a discrepancy between demand and supply, right? The major issue is that the jobs are a little bit changing, the expectation of the companies are a little bit changing and shifting from before, and also the expectation of the students, because I'm focusing on students there, not on experienced professional, is also evolving, right? And we have to put that together, and it's a bit tricky. So we are there. It's an opportunity for a few business, and we are a few in Paris to do that, and also in California also.
I believe you've also given us some photos that we could look at about some of the talks, some of the students, some of the events and things that you have done. So here we have, I think, where are you in this photo?
I'm taking the photos. I'm not here.
Sorry.
So these are students from HEC MBA program. And actually it's interesting because we are in Europe, people are looking for jobs in Europe, but not only. Here we were in Brazil, and we are visiting a company. This one is a company that is in financial advisory. And this idea of meeting companies, this is Brazil again, and you see it's kind of beautiful. And the idea is really to have this mix and have the connection with companies. So the guy, they prepare what they are willing to ask and what they are willing to demonstrate to the companies. And then they have this opportunity as being students to go and meet companies, which is not easy when you are a professional. So it's one of the assets that MBAs are selling is you go there, and if you go in the program, then you will be able to visit these companies with us. And it's one of the offering that I'm doing is because of this. As you could see, there was not a lot of people there joining this visit. I'm building this kind of visit of companies, but in Europe now, with more than one school. So let's say you have 5 students in HPU who are willing to visit, I don't know, LVMH in Paris, right? So say I bring also 5 students from HEC and 5 students from Sciences Po, and will be 15 students, and it will be more interesting for companies.
Where are some of the different countries that you see? Brazil. I mean, you must get. Are there certain European countries that you concentrate on? France, Italy, Germany, or?
Yes, the focus that I have is in France, obviously, and also in Switzerland. And now I've been working in the UK also, so I'm spending more in the UK and Ireland, and also in Germany. So I've been working a little bit with the Iberics and Italy, but it's not the focus right now.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and so this was Credit Suisse, so I assume this must be in Switzerland.
And actually, no, it's not. It's a wrong assumption. This is in London.
Okay.
So it was another visit we did, and he's really focusing into finance. So we have this crowd of students also, same MBAs, people who are really looking to sneak into banking. There is a specific process into entering in banking when you're an MBA because you're supposed to go through the traditional summer associate program. So we do this visit in fall. So this happens in October or November. Yeah, November. It happens in November. So we go in November with the students. They get ready. They meet these companies. They know what exactly they are willing to do. They need to have prior finance experience on there. They can start and apply for the summer associate program. Because as it's in November, the application is at this moment, and then eventually they will start the program in the following July. So that's the idea of this kind of visit, is really you get prepared, you know your assets, and then you meet the companies, and then you carry on with demonstrate your skills.
Okay. What about some, I mean, are there countries that have a lot of challenges or countries that are easier to sort of set this up with students? Or?
Oh, yes. Well, the thing with Europe is that I tend to call them the United States of Europe. So we are a certain big crowd of countries. There are some things that people will be looking for, profiles people will be looking for. Languages, taxation, immigration law, everything will be different from one country to the other, and will also depend it's not the same for a citizen from one country to immigrate in another country, right? So in the countries where I've been working, internationals who are studying in France, it's kind of fine to find a job in France, I would say, related to the work permit, right? It's fine. But then the barrier to entry will be language. So people will ask you to parler français. And if you don't speak French, no, it doesn't work.
Do they still use the graphology test?
Yeah. Some do.
Yes.
It happened to me. Someone was looking above my shoulder while I was working. Actually, it's not the main criteria to recruit someone, and actually it has been put a little bit aside. It's more, you're all taking some tests, but graphology, not that much. Or why not numerology, or I don't know.
Your zodiac sign.
Oh, zodiac sign, exactly. And just another example is that the Swiss market is very, very attractive, but it's very difficult to sneak in if you are not a European citizen from I would say the early founders of Europe. So it's difficult, but it's very interesting, very international. It's moved fast, so it's interesting.
Okay. How about the northern countries like Denmark or Sweden or Norway? I mean, we hear that oftentimes that they have a similar sort of work culture, it's kind of like the Anglo-Saxon countries. So are they pretty open for international students to come and work and positions? Or?
Yeah, that's correct. So this picture shows that we were in Denmark visiting a company. This is Siemens Wind Power. So they design and build a windmill to produce electricity on very, very large windmill. So it was very interesting. And so we visited the plant and we have met also with the managers. The thing that strikes me there is basically it's colder than in the rest of Europe, right? But aside of that, the culture is really towards welcoming anyone. So it could be locals, could be internationals, anywhere. So it's very, very welcoming. In terms of business, it's more Anglo-Saxon. So really about being to the point on delivering. So the delivery is very important. And also the fact that the work-life balance is something that is highly important. So you start, normally in the morning, but then you will end early in the evening so that you will have time to take care of your family. So The family things is something that is very important. Yet the company are being very international. So I've been working lately with for the Lego Group company to design a business case with them. And the thing is that the company is very well rooted into Denmark, but is being very a global company. And what I mean about a global company is a company that operates without being relying on the headquarters. Right? So there is this mindset that is very interesting. You have this culture that is attractive, and also you can be an international citizen who is not speaking Danish and can be speaking English and be working there.
Denmark's interesting. I mean, this maybe takes you a little bit off script here in a sense, but Denmark's come up in our sort of presidential election here in the United States because it's often held up in a sense as a model, kind of as you suggest, in the sense of being able to balance sort of a dynamic economy, but also balancing sort of social questions and family questions and things. And so that's kind of come into this presidential debate here in the United States. I mean, is the Denmark model, or is it true? Is it a myth? Is this?
Alors, I am not an expert in Denmark, and absolutely not an expert into the American election, for sure. And so I'll be cautious into what I say. I think it's a good model, to my perception. I really felt that people were happy. I see in the figures of the company that company deliver. I see in the students that they are attracted also by that. And so I think it's really a model that can work, right? And if I take another example, we also kind of are comparing the French economy with the German economy and saying that we should do the same as German and voilà, but it's we are so different. The structure of France is very centralized around Paris, and not only, but historically it has been like this. And in Germany is more lenders, so we cannot compare both countries. But coming back to Denmark, I think it's a model that is interesting and works. To my perception.
Well, you mentioned Germany. I mean, Germany has also gotten a lot of attention because it's sort of seen as the European country that's sort of weathered the storm, if you will, of the financial crisis and actually grown. And moreover, compared to even other post-industrial countries like the US or Britain and so on, Germany has kept this sort of manufacturing base, where most of the other economies move over to services. So Germany's gotten a lot of attention lately. I mean, is that a relatively easy country in a sense for students to go get placements, or is it pretty closed? Or?
I don't believe it's closed. Actually, I think it's international. I've been also to Berlin and Munich with the students. The focus will be, I'm talking about MBAs, so the focus will be more into technical skills, on skills that you can use in order to deliver and have the company make money, right? Make profit and make money on the top line. And with the profile of people who are more willing to be into the management part and the part that costs in the company is maybe not the profile that we'll be looking for. Was the same in Denmark. Denmark was not really eager into recruiting MBAs. Yet it's a country that is welcoming. Regarding I would say the visa issue and so on, I'm not an expert, so I have no answer to give. But really, you can be working there speaking English. To my perception of the I would say the jobs I've been seeing there. Yet we are facing the same kind of protectionism as we see in France. People would like you to speak German also. So I would say in general we face that. The limit is the language. And then it's about your skills. What are you going to be able to bring on the table that will bring something to the company? Right. Because most of the students are waiting something from the company and not delivering.
What's going on here? This looks pretty intriguing.
So we are visiting a firm that is manufacturing tools for construction, and you can see. It is for management role, right? But they make us try the tools that they design. And it's a company that is headquartered in Liechtenstein. And they have this thing of willing people and everyone at the management level to know the tools and to be ambassador of the company. So it's really what we have been doing with the students. Not only we have been listening to talks of the managers, using the tools, and also we have been doing a business case competition. And this is something that is really attractive to companies. They want to bridge the gap between what they are doing, so building branding in the school, and also having the talents that will be able to forecast themselves in a job. So this is something that we have been doing there.
Interesting. All right, well, I'll take a short break and we'll come right back.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina with the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii, and one of our delights is to be partnered with Think Tech Hawaii and produce programs every week. Every Monday at 2 o'clock, we have a show called E Hana Kako, which means let's work together. So we bring people from all across the nation and the country, and certainly throughout the islands together here to talk with them about how to work together, and how to work together to do the following: to build a better economy, a better government, a better society. So if you're interested in the research of our think tank, the Grassroots Institute, or if you're interested in how that's applied at the governmental and community and business levels, you'll enjoy the fascinating conversations with our guests on E Hana Kako every week on Think Tech Hawaii at 2 o'clock on Mondays. Until our next show, I'll see you. Aloha.
Hello, welcome back to Global Connections. I'm Patrick Bratton. I'm talking with Erwan Barbier, talking about different job sectors in different countries in Europe. As we're coming back, I think we've got a couple more photos to look at. I think we've got one of a workshop that you were holding, I believe.
So yeah, this is kind of carrying on with the link with companies. So this is at the Microsoft EMEA headquarters in Paris. So you can see the Seine behind the picture. And actually, we are discussing with the. It's a mix of the company promoting yourself, right, and the students promoting themselves, provided they are interested. So we are in a way where the company has to do some selling effort at this moment. So it's not done by the people who will be eventually hiring these people. It's really done by a communication department. So this is part. We are meeting with Microsoft. We are discussing the potential hirings. We are discussing the process and so on. So people are trying to understand better what is happening within the company. But also the company is showing all the great things that they are doing and why the students should join them. And it's interesting because the company is... It's a strong brand, right? You shouldn't be forecasting on promoting yourself within this program, but yeah, it's not sufficient because many people will think about other businesses other than this one. So yeah, there we didn't really do something that will demonstrate the skills of students like business cases or answering to questions and so on.
Okay, interesting. I mean, is this, if you will, you've done all these workshops. I think you also had something about Energy Day or something else.
Yeah. So this is a workshop. That student who really looks like to be thinking. So and actually they were. And this is a workshop I did with the company LinkedIn. They came on campus, and they were presenting themselves, and we decided beforehand. So it's the way I do, right? I go to the company, and this is something I did at HEC, but it's something I'm carrying on with doing right now. I go to a company and I say, hey, do you want to talk to these students? Yeah, oh, very interesting. Yeah, why not? And then what kind of thing would you like to discuss with them? And then it brings some material, so that it brings some the capability of the students to demonstrate what they are able to do within the company. And there we were discussing the potentiality of LinkedIn to grow in China. And it was very interesting because the students came with this question, yeah, how can we grow in China? And then eventually the guy stood up, said that, and then sat down and said, now you have 1 hour. I said, what am I going to do now? So it's really interesting. Yeah, they have to think about something clear out of the mist, right?
So Energy Day, you're working with Électricité de France there, right?
Électricité de France, that's correct. And this is not mine. This is done by the students. So I'm here to support the students into designing that. And that's the thing. I do that also, but now there is someone in HEC who's doing that. So this is not something I'm doing anymore. But it's a conference where there the students are really doing the things by themselves. So they go, find a topic, set up everything, find the companies, bring the speakers, and organize everything. So that's the idea of this, right? And this is also similar to the conference. This is related to EV, right? The electrical vehicle at this moment. And it's a conference also where companies come and express what they do that is specific towards the subject. And building all of that together is coming back to, as you do also here, to have the students know about the company and the company know about the student. The issue being that they sometimes see a lot of companies and might forget what they've seen and might forget or be complacent, right? Say, anyway, there will be another company that will come next week. Right? So the thing is that they really need to focus into, this is the company where I want to go. So the company will be needing to see commitment. So there, where is Chestnut Trees coming in, right? So what I do is that I work with students to do the basic, right? Have a good resume, have a good cover letter related to a job offer, have the nice speech to have with the company, have a nice LinkedIn profile, everything that is all set, right? And be prepared. And once you are prepared, then, and not once you are prepared, you will get prepared if you have an interest into the company. If you don't have any interest, you will not get prepared. And that's good, because then it's done, right? And then the company will see the commitment and the motivation. So it's what really I do in workshop, in classes, in one-on-one, and also in business cases.
I know that sometimes it's dangerous to make analogies between different employment sectors, but I do a lot of career advising for my students who want to go into government work or nonprofits or law even. And one of the things I always stress to them is that you really have to do your research. You really have to, if you're going to go and interview at a place or even write a letter or an application to a place, really know the place, know the position. Because if you send sort of a generic thing that sort of really sort of telegraphs your disinterest or lack of interest in the place, it's normally sort of a kiss of death on the application. And while that sounds obvious, it's interesting how a lot of people don't always think of that. Is that the same for your students that you're advising?
And I like the point that you state, it's obvious, right? And when we say it's obvious, the student will say, I don't need that, because it's obvious, right? And at the end of the day, they don't do the job. And I was a student in an MBA, and I didn't do the job either, right? So for sure, we just take it for granted. The company will come and pick us up. But actually, no, it doesn't work. So you need to show commitment, and you need to demonstrate that you have been doing your work. And if you do the homework of understanding the sector of the company, understanding the jobs, understanding who are there, and show that you have been doing things towards working in the company and forecast yourself, then it's going to work. And then you say, yeah, but it's such a lot of work. Yeah, but it happened once. So it's fine. When it's done, it's done. And then you can do it again eventually if you change job. But yeah, it's just once.
Okay, interesting. How about networking? I mean, this is another one that I think sometimes students have a difficulty with, in that oftentimes they seem to have a view for networking, that networking is sort of like, hey, I know you, and you introduce me to somebody, and that somebody will give me a job. And like, that's it, right? You just got to meet two people. Where I always joke with my students, networking is sort of a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon sort of enterprise, where you meet somebody, then 10 years later something happens, or this and that. And that's why it's very careful. You have to be very careful in how you present yourself, how you interact, always to be professional in things, and not always. But on the other hand, you don't want to come around with the tin cup, like, hey, got a job, man. I want a job, right? You have to, in a sense, sell yourself, but not seem to be, sort of begging, I guess, if you will. I mean, is that you find that networking also as well is quite important for the students?
Yes, and that's an issue. And by the way, I'm teaching next week a class related to networking, and I think there are several things to see. It's really about you need to know the people that will be relevant to you. So it will be, you need to know the people that are going to help you at some point to find a job, but first that you are going to be able to help. Right? So meaning, it's the first thing, and people will forget that. You have to understand who you are going to be able to help and understand their issue. So when you are doing networking, you are basically selling yourself. And if you want to be selling well, you have to do marketing before. So you have to do your research. Once again, we come back to that. So you get prepared, and then you can network well. And then there is also this international difference. People will network differently in different countries, right? So, and people will tend to be picky into, why is this person coming to me? Why does he or she want? When we go to people who are more educated, coming back to their studies, they tend to be reluctant into asking for a job. They say, everyone tells me that I need to ask for information and ask for information, and maybe these people are going to help me knowing better. Yeah, but who cares about knowing? At some point, you want to work also. So then comes the fine line into when is it that I'm going to say, hey, I am available to work for you. And you are going to be able to say so when you are going to be building the trust with the person. So you show that you are going to look for a job, but then you're not asking for the job. You say, well, I've been doing that, I understand your issue is that, and then you are building the talk and building the kind of answer you can bring to the company.
Interesting. I mean, I don't, not to put you on the spot with something non-politically correct, but I mean, you mentioned sort of cultural differences in networking. I mean, what's something that you've learned or you've picked up, or something that works in one context that is inappropriate or doesn't work in another?
It's a good question. So, sometimes we have a culture that are being very, very pushy into networking and say, oh, hi, and they will jump into the discussion. and where in countries that are conservative, very conservative, like the Swiss market, it doesn't work. So in Switzerland, you have to take your time, be cautious, talk to people, reassure, be clear about what is your agenda, and take really your time. In France, it's different. It really relies on luck, right? Either you face someone who is going to be supportive or not. And either you're going to face someone who will like, I don't know, an Anglo-Saxon mindset, or more Latin mindset, or more structure mindset. You never know. You don't know what kind of people you're going to have in front of you. So you really need to listen. And if you don't listen, it doesn't work.
Okay, interesting. I mean, what's sort of the big, I guess, as you've been doing this for several years, what's been the biggest surprise for you?
The biggest surprise I had? Many. It's a tricky question, Patrick. Yeah, to see the people who, some people, the discrepancy between the way how some students are doing the job, so being prepared, doing the work, applying the right way, and doesn't get job, and some people who just out of the blue come with something that is great. And I think that of course there is luck, right? But there's this kind of fit that happens between the person and the job. And sometimes you might be doing your work, doing the thing, but you might not be in the right mindset that will make you have the job. So maybe you might be, I have applied, it didn't work. I have applied again, it didn't work. So then I'm going to apply and apply and apply, but anyway, it's not going to work. So that's the kind of thing that you might see. And also people who say, yeah, anyway, I will find a job, whatever happens, and they will apply one and get a position. So that's something that is interesting. And then with the 6 degrees of separation, as you said, we always see someone coming back and was here in Australia, came back in Europe, and then eventually comes on campus. So this really happens a lot. So, so voilà, no specific surprise. That was just overwhelming in the, in the past experience. Yeah, or maybe that you see people around the globe who are trying to, that you might not have known, right, who are starting similar business to the one of Chestnut Tree, and then you meet them and you have a good fit, right? And you see, that's very interesting what you do, and that's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, thank you very much for coming here on Global Connections and talking with us, and it's been fascinating to catch up with you and learn about the things that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Patrick. It was a great opportunity, and I hope that was interesting for the people who will listen.
Oh, I think so. All right, well, thank you. I'm Patrick Bratton for Global Connections. I'll see you next week.
for watching Think Tech Hawaii, Hawaii's leading digital media platform for civic engagement, raising public awareness on tech, energy diversification, and globalism. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.